Good day, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be breaking down and discussing the new WandaVision episode 7, that came out around 3 this morning. So, yeah, before we start, spoiler alert, spoiler warning, right somewhere here. Um, yeah, let's begin. So, the episode starts off, and we see two things. We see one, which is Wanda laying in bed, being all sulky after the events of what happened before. And we get a scene with her also talking to the camera, modern family style, kind of breaking the fourth wall, kind of. Um, and while she's in bed, we notice two things. So if you pay attention, you would see that one of her pillows and her blanket all has the hexagon shape on it. So yeah, hex. We also see one of our pillows is different. So this could be a foreshadowing that things to come later on in the episode, where things are changing basically. Um, we then cut downstairs and we see the kids playing video games on their system. I can't tell what system exactly it is, but they're playing video games, and while playing video games, everything starts to go crazy. The controllers start to shift from the original controller to like a N64 to Sega to the Atari controller with the joystick and the button. So yeah, um, the kids then run upstairs and meet their moms in bed sulking, and they ask her when she's coming down because everything is going crazy downstairs. Like their game keeps changing basically. And she says she's going to rest. She's not sleeping. She's just resting her eyes like this, and she covers up her head. And Billy then says, says, "Mom, I have a headache. My head hurts." He keeps saying voices. And this is basically because he awoke on this power in the last episode. And he's kind of telepathic as well, so that is why he's hearing voices and that kind of stuff. We then jump into the opening title cards intro thing, and it's very modern. I don't think it's Modern Family. I think it's an older show called Happy Ending. Um, so yeah, and we get the final part of the opening intro. We see, well, during the intro we see Wanda's name on everything, and then the last one is Wanda on a calendar, and then Vision slides in, and we see the little heart on the date on the 10th. And then after that we see it goes black, and we see WandaVision created by Wanda Maximoff. We then jump now after that we jump outside of the hex, and we see SWORD has set up a new base, a temporary base again outside, and it's like 8 miles off from Westview. And we get Hayward and the lady he escaped with. I don't know what her position or rank is. Um, Basically telling him that um, they're getting ready again and prepping for what's to come, basically. So he wants to basically go back and get Wanda out, get rid of her. Um, we then jump back into the hex now, and we see where the sword base was before, how it became a circus. So we see the clowns, um, we see all kinds of different actors and performers for a circus there, and then we get Darcy now, and Darcy has on a kind of bluish suit with red lines here, um, and she's talking to the camera just like Modern Family kind of speaking to the camera, and then we see Vision notices her, and Vision walks up there, and he's like it's really awkward, but he's like do you remember me? We locked eyes. It was an unspoken moment, and it kind of creeps her out. Um, and when he does, she's actually we find out that in the circus she's a escape artist. So when he starts talking to her and mentions in locking eyes and whatnot, she's like, "Okay, I'm done." She takes off the stuff and she leaves. She begins to walk away. We then cut back to Wanda now, and we see that she came downstairs. We saw that she went to get cereal and milk, and while doing that, the milk carton changes a few times. We saw that when it changed on the carton itself, one of them there was a missing kids report on the back of one. um, if y'all know, in the Spider-Man leaks that came out, spoiler alert for Spider-Man. There were set photos of a board with a lot of missing kids. So maybe kids are missing because Wanda taking kids from the outside when I'm bringing them into here. So yeah. So after all of that, Wanda finally sits down with the kids. Um, she sniffs her cereal before, I guess. Make sure probably with the milk change in the cartons that the milk isn't spoiled. She sits with the kids. And now they're talking a little bit. She mentions they ask about their uncle, and she tells them that that man isn't their uncle, so maybe more foreshadowing for future things. Um, while doing this as well, um, we see the kids are in green. Well, I believe it's Billy. Billy is in green. I'll just call them Wiccan and Speed by their hero names. Wiccan is the one in green, and Speed is the one in green. Obviously Speed, because last episode he discovered his powers, which was super speed like Pietro, and Wiccan in his colors, which is red, blue, black, and white. I'll try a picture up with their comic book costume somewhere here so y'all would see. There's mention to Vision as well, but nothing major. We then see they're on the couch watching TV, and Agnes comes. Wanda probably sensed that, opened the door, and basically Agnes comes and she takes the kids. And she's like, give your mom some space, let her have some alone time, and she takes the kids so Wanda can have that alone time. And while sitting and watching the TV and eating her cereal, now Wanda notices her powers start to go haywire, like the TV switches um, from like the flat screen to the older TV, which is black and white. We see also that wallpaper starts going up and down the wall, the lamp changes, the table changes, the chairs change, everything starts to change. She I think even the stock from the earlier episode when she was pregnant with the babies up here with the same red smoke, I'm still holding on to that beam of Mephisto. And she fixes everything. We now cut away now and we see Jimmy Woo and Monica driving to meet the engineer, and we get a big grander view of the hex now, so we actually get to see like a full scale of it. In doing so, in driving, Woo says he got the email that Darcy sent him last episode, and it is indeed Project Cataract. There's a play on words here, I guess, because Project Cataract deals with vision, and in real life, cataract affects your vision and makes it blurry. So, we know Sword wants Vision back to make him into a weapon, so Cataract would blur the lines of the real Vision. Get it? I see what they did there. But we finally meet this friend who Monica keeps talking about. Sadly, we don't see the engineer. Bummer. But we see that the friend is a female military officer, probably a high-ranking one, and she brings the thing Monica requested, which is this big tank, spaceship-looking thing, for her to try to breach the hex. So we get a glimpse of that. We then cut back to in the hex now. We see Darcy and Vision. Vision released stuff from the mind control with his fingers, like what he did to his friend. And while talking, one of the performers, I guess the lead performer, comes to tell them that they need to be on stage. So I think as he sucker punches him and breaks his nose, and Vision run away, they steal the funnel cake van and drive off. And in doing so, while driving off, she begins to tell him more about his past, because remember, he doesn't remember anything. So she begins telling him more about his past and things like that. And now we cut cut to the ad in the episode, and it's for Nexus. So there's two things with Nexus. If we look up the meaning of the word Nexus in real life, Nexus gives us two meanings. One being a connection or series of connections linking two or more things, or a central or focal point. So we know what a nexus is now. Um, so that could be why everything here is linked together, because it's a nexus. Um, the other thing for nexus now is related to the comic books. In the comic books, the nexus in the comic books is where all the multiverses and alternate realities meet in one point in the comic book. It's called the Nexus something. I can't remember the next part, but it's the Nexus basically in the comic books. So that's the other reference there. Also, next thing that we could add to this is in both, in two movies actually. In Thor, there was a reference to Nexus, that being when the Doctor was explaining all the realms, he mentioned Nexus, as well as in Age of Ultron, they mentioned Nexus as well when Tony was going through the internet, I believe, trying to find Ultron's signature, that is. So Nexus there. So that is all two things plus the two major things for Nexus, and then the little tie-in from the movies. Next we cut over to by Agnes's place, because remember she took the kids. And we saw, well, we see, not saw, we see she's sitting with the kids. And she mentions, well, not she, but she's talking to them, asking them if they're okay, if they need anything, being kind of a mother figure, babysitter kind of thing. And Wiccan, I'll call him Wiccan because I mix up their names. Wiccan, he mentions that he likes it here because it's quiet, and he mentions that Agnes that she's quiet inside, so more foreshadowing. So yeah, then we cut to her talking to the camera a little bit, and she mentions that she's supposed to tell the kids that their mom is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I thought that was funny. We then cut back again to Monica getting dressed up to try to breach the hex. And we see her in this kind of astronaut spacesuit kind of thing that they put together. And she hops into the tank van thing and she speeds off into trying to breach it. But in doing so, the hex kind of absorbs like the first part of the van and starts to rewrite it. So she has to immediately climb out. And it splits it halfway across the field afterwards, and we see that the front half of the tank van is actually turned into like a van itself, and the back remains the same. And Monica gets up and she's like, I can breach it, and she just goes all crazy and runs headfirst into it. And this is cool because when she runs into it, we get an effect. This effect reminds me a lot of Doctor Strange 1. If you all remember when Doctor Strange was training, the Ancient One flicked him on the forehead and basically knocked his soul out, but sent him through like the multiverse, and he was flipping and spinning and going through all kinds of dimensions. I think that and this is like a reference to each other, because in that he was going through like multiverse and dimensions, and here we see Monica going through the hex, which is kind of like a dimensional barrier. So we see her split it into like 4 parts and then walking through, and we hear like voices in her head, maybe from her mother and her grandmother as she's going through. And in doing so, she kind of pulls herself together, because she's not going to split. She pulls herself back together in one, and she jumps out the barrier. And when she does, we see she lands on the ground, and her eyes are glowing blue, and she has on the same suit. Her suit wasn't changed, so that is an indicator that she kept her memories, her personality. She wasn't changed when she entered the hex. And she blinks a few times, and we see her seeing things in a colorful kind of way, like the electromagnetic spectrum, maybe. So this will it happened already, but basically this is them showing you that she's finally gotten her powers. In the comic book, her comic name was Photon, I believe. Yes, it is Photon, but I'm not sure if they're going to do it Photon or Spectrum. But she has powers in the comics as well. So this is basically the origin of how she got her powers in the MCU. The comics is a bit different. Um, we then cut back now to Darcy and Vision driving, and she's telling him more about his backstory that he can't remember, like how Wanda had to kill him, and then Thanos brought him back and killed him again, all that stuff. And there's a red light, and the red light stops them. And when it does stop them now, she mentioned, well, not she, but Vision mentions to Darcy that this is Wanda is doing, trying to stop him from coming home. And it's funny because after the red light passes, a truck pulls up in front of them to do work on the electrical lines. And that just buys is stalling them then for Wanda to buy time, I guess. And now, after the truck passes, someone comes up with a stop sign for kids to pass, and Vision is like, you know what, forget this, and he phases out of the van and flies off. Um, Now cut to Monica, and she runs into Wanda's home, and she tries talking to her, but Wanda doesn't want it. Wanda basically throws out the house with her magic, and we see when she throws her out, there's like red squiggly lines around Monica's body, like rope then tying her up. And I think, to me at least, this, if you all remember in Endgame, no, Infinity War, then when Doctor Strange was fighting Thanos, he used a move where he made red rope in his hand and he wrapped it around Thanos. This reminds me of that red rope, of that spell he used. So yeah, Monica breaks free of it then, and then she drops to the ground in the old classic Deadpool saying superhero landing. But notice when she lands this time, there's energy radiating off her hand and one of her legs. Um, yeah, so she lands, and then Agnes runs over basically and stops it and pulls her away to go home by her. And something else to mention, we see the postman again, and the postman is walking. When the postman stops now, we see his name tag is Presto. Presto, Mephisto. I'm holding out hope that Mephisto is still in this. But yeah, then Agnes carries Wanda home and she offers to make her tea. Wanda sits down. We don't get much really to say any big look at where she's sitting, like to see if there's anything special outside of the house or about the house. But while Wanda is sitting, she notices the bunny, a cicada, and she's just, it's quiet there. She's like, where are the twins? And Agnes tells her, the twins probably playing in the basement. So Wanda goes to look for the twins. In doing so, she finds the basement is all creepy, like something straight out of a horror movie then, where there's this old creepy basement and it's like ruins with vines and tree roots all over it. So Wanda enters, and while walking, there's like a few cabinets, I believe, and there's red lights inside them, and we see like artifacts in it. One looks like a skull, but I can't make out the rest. And then she notices a book, a little grimoire kind of looking book on a stand, emitting energy. So this book, I believe, might be the Darkhold. Um, in the comics, the Darkhold is a book from the Hell Realm, where Mephisto is from. So again, more clues to Mephisto, but it may not be him. I don't know. Some people are saying Nightmare. I hope it's Mephisto. But yeah, the Darkhold now is this ancient text that the text contains spells and knowledge. It's like the Necronomicon of the Marvel Universe then. So it's this big bad book of spells, and all the ancient sorcerers basically know about it. And Wanda then turns around and sees Agnes walks in. Agnes does a little thingy with her finger and closes the door. She's like, you're not the only magic user here. And she says her real name is Agatha Harkness. So we finally get the reveal. And she does have on the brooch here, like in the comics where she wears it. So I'll draw a picture up of comic book Agatha here with the real one side by side. And her eyes go purple, so I'm guessing her powers would be purple to differentiate. And she reveals that she has been controlling people. So we get a little title card starring Agatha Harkness. And then we see all the things that she influenced throughout the episode, like Pietro controlling him, the magic show with Wanda and Vision, how she made things go wrong, and a lot of other stuff. And I assumed in my previous review, I said she probably killed the dog. I was right. She did admit to killing the dog. So yeah, and we head straight into the credits now. So yeah, we have the credits, and then Marvel finally does a Marvel thing and gives us an end credit scene. And we see Monica kinda snooping around. She opens the cellar doors to get inside, and Pietro appears, and it's like, snoopers are gonna snoop, and it ends there. So yeah, a few things to notice in this episode or reference. I've referenced all the main things so far, but one or two things I may have left out. Now, Monica is wearing a black jersey or long sleeve jersey, and we see here is black with the arm up to here, and the rest is white. This with black pants. Sorry, this now is basically her costume from the comics. I'll drop like a comic book costume here, so y'all could see it somewhere. So there's that. Again, I'll also drop probably a picture of a bigger picture now of the Dark World or Darkhold, sorry, book. And yeah, so we got a lot of references this episode to comic related things, and more hints that maybe Mephisto might be the bad guy. So yeah, this little review Easter egg pointer thing is what I do. If you're new here, consider subscribing, hitting a like if you enjoyed it. Um, my name is Darian, by the way, and we do this every week for different things, be it comics. Um, well, I want to do comics, so comics, manga, anime, TV shows, you name it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Till the next time, see y'all.